Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to join us this evening. My name is Jessica Kristen Hamidna, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Icon magazine. And we're gathered here today with a fantastic panel for our sofa talks. And it's such a great opportunity to take some time out of Milan Design Week, which tends to be so busy, to sit down here, to share some interesting thoughts and perhaps even encourage a new way of thinking. So yeah, thank you for your time, and please make yourself feel at home, grab a glass of wine or some water, and there will also be an opportunity to ask questions at the end, so do stay around. The beautiful showroom that we're sitting in here today is the backdrop for the new Circle of Harmony 65th anniversary collection, which tells the story of Natuzzi's evolution between past, present, and future. But yes, with me today, Andrea and Simone, two of the designers who are interpreting the brand DNA in an exciting new way. And joining them is Pasquale Jr., who's inviting creative new minds like Andrea and Simone to bring a fresh new feel and reinterpret Natuzzi's know-how in a new way. And tonight we're hoping to take you behind the scenes of Natuzzi and share a little bit more about design thinking and go beyond just the inspiration of a product. So to kickstart the conversation, Pasquale, can you share a little bit more how you would describe Natuzzi as a brand?
I would say it's a very honest, authentic, and creative brand. By calling it authentic, this element of authenticity, it's also deriving from its pride in being very different from many other brands in the premium luxury segment of the furniture design industry of the Italian brands or of the world. Why? Because we've always been different. Most of the brands from the design industry, Italian especially, are from around Milano, right? And we feel very special and unique because we come from Puglia, and we are proud to say that maybe we are the only one. And by saying so, and feeling so, as a unique element of distinction, the uniqueness of this Apulianity, or being Apulian, took us to the extent of really wanting to leverage on this identity and perception and creating a lifestyle around this idea of Mediterranean and Apulian hospitality. So Natuzzi today is a brand that is creating a hospitality lifestyle to product that want to deliver a sense of harmony by blending beautiful ambience and decorating beautiful spaces to ultimately really deliver harmony and serenity and wellness and comfort and well-being to people of the world by really designing products and decorating spaces.
And what drives you? What gets you excited about a new project or collaboration?
Personally, I've been always, challenged by I think my father, since I was really maybe 5-year-old, in looking at products in the prototyping room and seeing who's who, what do you prefer. As a kid, I wasn't drinking milk and cookies. I was eventually breathing studs, screws, and wood and foam and sofas. That was my air, my breath of fresh air, and I'm really proud of it, So to me, Natuzzi is an extension of my body almost. I call it the eldest sister. We're 5 kids. I have 3 sisters, 1 brother, and Natuzzi is my 4th sister. So to me, it's a woman. For my father, is a boy, so I still don't know, but for me, it's a sister, okay? In this context, it's really passion that drives me. I'm pretty young. I'm just 33. I started pretty young in Natuzzi, and I was lucky and fortunate enough to have the opportunity as a young fellow in the industry to put my hands on the brand, to be influential for the present and the future of the company. And I think that is a pretty unique opportunity to shape and reshape the path of a brand that has a lot of potential. So what really drives me is the unexpressed potential that I see in this company, in this brand, and what really keeps me consistent in following the passion, because motivation has a lot of ups and downs, right? But consistency and passion eventually can take you to the ultimate goal that I have, and my goal is to express the fullest potential of Natuzzi. So that's it.
And do you think some of that also reflects in the people you work with? So how do you choose your collaborators? Shared values? Is it a specific aesthetic? Is it perhaps an idea that you're hoping to bring into the company? How do you work with lovely designers like Andrea and Simone?
speaking about these two gentlemen here, I think that what really makes my job special is that I cannot work, and there's other colleagues, designers of the Circle of Harmony in the room. What I think we need to take back in the industry is and I'm talking about the design industry, is the understanding that good design are made by good people, I think. And good projects are often, created when there's this sense of harmony. That's why we called it Circle of Harmony, because yesterday we were talking about design constraint, right? And these guys here will tell you how many constraints they had and they felt. But that's product design, it's industrial design. You can't design just for the love of it, how you want and what you want. If you want it to be commercial especially, right? It have a meaning, a purpose, a functionality, and ultimately it has to be commercial. To make that happen and be a commercial success, you need to perhaps follow constraints. But when you feel an authentic love for the project, and when there's a good relationship of friendship that you create with designers, and then you overcome these unfortunate steps that eventually you have to step on, then the end of a day or the next stage of a project becomes, just another challenge that you want to win together. So what I try to find in designers is, of course, diversity, because we need to get creative DNAs that can give Natuzzi new forms, right? New shape. It's making it three-dimensional. And Andrea and Simone, they all have their different DNAs, different from Natuzzi, but blending them in the Circle of Harmony, of course, is where magic happens, and we create different new identities for the brand that still, evolves in coherence with his identity. So that is something, diversity to, mix with the Natuzzi-ness. And the other element is, of course, this sense of friendship and authenticity that I want.
I really like that. You also touched on good design, and I have a question for all three of you. In your opinion, what separates good from great design?
Good evening, everyone, first of all. So from good to great, I think it's the relationships between people, actually. PJ said good designs are actually done by good people, and I also believe good designs are also done by good relationships, And this is what makes actually the final product very relevant, both for the company and for the market. And the whole vibe that you get through while designing, all the reviews, the calls during the weekend also, right? Yeah. Very smooth relationships. No, apart from kidding, I mean, I think it's it's the human factor. That's crucial, yeah.
That human factor also is, I think, as a target, no? Because everybody wants to do the best, and you need also the knowledge, and you need the history to make something great, no? Instead of just of good quality. So if these kind of chemical elements between people goes in the right direction, the expression of this knowledge, of the history of how to make good things comes to the best, no?
PJ, do you also?
Good design, great design, honestly, I think that it's very subjective. We will have to conversate for hours, I think, on this, right? To me, a good or great design, it really depends about also the element of success. So how many people can touch it, feel it, appreciate it, ultimately buy it. But a great design can also be for the niche. So it's not really about the numbers and the scale that you wanna reach. But I'm sorry. I'm not really.
Fine. It is. Really, I think. Yeah.
If someone wants to give me a suggestion, yes, I'm really open
maybe
for
at
it.
the end.
Now, but greatness is also something that you can say or certify after the product is on the market, and people appreciate it, because at the end, what a company made is product that should be used, loved by people. So about the process, which is fantastic and relates us and makes everything possible and high quality. But the thing is that this kind of attitude, this kind of relation is in the product, and people understand it and love it and will use it, no, in their home, in their house, which is the most intimate place you have, no, where your loves are, and that's it. Probably what makes great. A lot of pieces that last for years after their first they were launched on the market, they are great also because they are durable. So they continue to be on the market, and people want to have them.
This is perhaps, the question that I would give you, more than durable in terms of how things are made, because perhaps a good design can also be made of not so durable in terms of material usage. Could be, we could spot some things in design books that aren't made of perennial materials that last forever. But for sure, I would say that a great design is a design that can last, if not forever, that can go across and be surfing waves of generation, of appreciation. A great design is a design that perhaps can achieve perennial beauty.
Become iconic, I guess, because iconic is also a word that's perhaps even slightly overused. It's very easy to say something is iconic, but how do you actually say, this is an iconic piece of design? But yes, it's one that lasts and people recognize and appreciate. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the pieces that we see in the showroom. Maybe you can have a little wander around and take a look for yourself. So Simone, this year your collaboration with Natuzzi continues with Momento. It's a new sofa that aims to establish a connection between shapes and sensations. Can you talk us a little bit through about the creative vision and process and tell us a little bit more about that?
So there are many ways one can do design, I think, and I will share a little bit of how I approach design, all right? That's my personal point of view, and it's not like the good one for everyone, let's say. But what I believe is that objects around me and the objects that I actually design, before being like physical entities, before being like ergonomic, before being functional, before being chairs, sofas, and tables, they are actually activators of emotions. So, and this is also connecting and linking with what Natuzzi was titling the brief of this year, which was visual comfort. So to me, when you see an object, it should attract you from an empathetic level before actually being ergonomic and functional. So to me, a sofa that is actually ergonomic, but it doesn't look like that, it's wrong. It should look ergonomic from the distance, So I try to design objects which are actually aiming to develop emotions and feelings before being touched, before being used, And this is why over the years I shifted the design from the design of the technical part of the object to the design of the emotion that this can erase.
Okay. And Andrea, this is your first time collaborating with Natuzzi. When you received the brief for this collection, what was your initial response and how is what we see today different or similar to that?
How was the brief that I gave you? Was it a good brief?
Yeah, it was a group brief, and that's why also I designed the sofa, because this is the first thing. I mean, when you have an intelligent conversation, is the first thing to start, a new nice project. So first of all, the first time we met, my sensibility understood that I can be appreciated by the company. This is one of the first things that a designer probably should select the most. He was seeing in me something interesting. He understood what I was doing in the past years, and that was the best environment to express yourself, because you are also sure that they will appreciate the effort. Then probably a company could choose your design or not, but design is not just a thing that should be an ending for sure. I mean, sometimes it's a research, sometimes there's relations with companies that last for years, but not every time you get out on the market, it's a research. And also the research in the company, sometimes we think that it's just about materials, about stitching, or it's not just about that. It's just also is about ideas that should be experimented, should be tried, and the suggestion of a designer enrich in some way also the research, the final research of the company. About the process of what we have done is quite a complex, because we were working on different ideas, not just on that, but then they selected this one, which in my opinion, as the final point was to move in some way the vision of a sofa and of the comfort of them into a side that was a little bit different on spec of what we had until now. And the provocation was a little bit that I want a sofa which you can in some way look at it, and the old shapes that are combined, they should be like soft shapes, But the thing was that I want something that was really architecturally constructed, combined. And on the other side, I wanted something that was in which you can make your comfort personal in some way. Because as we always talk about comfort in a sofa, but everybody of us is different, no? The dimension of everybody are different. So the important thing is, my opinion is that the pieces are in some way inclusive, in a way that you can feel that is your own sofa, no? That's why the cushion then inside, you can move them, you can personalize them.
Add a personal touch and make it your own, exactly. And so we talked a little bit about the creative process and thinking, but how do you actually, in your opinion, move from that part of the design process and your inspiration? How do you move from inspiration to creation or innovation? How do you navigate through boredom, difficult days to get to the final product? And
Can I?
yeah, please.
So from inspiration to creation, that's beautiful. So you walk around, you get to see like art fairs, you get to see movies, you get to listen to some great music. For me, one of the most beautiful music is reggae music. To me, it's giving me the right vibes sometimes to design. So that's also part of the inspiration. Then you get into different websites, but then so you get the inspiration that comes as a flash like that. And then sometimes I send myself vocal messages on WhatsApp, trying to describe that idea so that I don't forget, because I have a very bad memory. Therefore, I have to either like send myself a WhatsApp vocal message or write down something. Unfortunately, I don't go around with a notebook. And then you actually go back to the studio. I don't know, you sketch on paper and you leave it there. If that sketch is good also after a couple of days, then it means that something is there and it's worth to develop. All right. If it's still good after a month or so, then it's time to actually 3D model it with softwares that we both use. And so the creation starts like that. And then of course you have the prototyping phase once you reach the contact with the company, and that's how it goes, at least for me, while listening to reggae music.
The process for me is always different in some way. It comes from a technical thing. Sometimes you use a software, you make something by your hand. It's a kind of concept which can come from everywhere. Or sometimes it's just an idea, a thought, that then you start like visualizing in a way. No, in this kind of new product, for example, I started in a way which was completely different from what I used before, because I started from a 2D drawing, which I never do it, and this 2D drawing then came the module to be combined, for example. No, I mean, it's something very randomic in a way. No, there's no a methodology, because I feel, maybe we were talking before, no, there's not just a technical side of design, but there's a kind of a humanistic, no, side of it, which always change your point of view, and changing the point of view is also changing the process, and so that's the thing. Yeah.
PJ, do you want to add to that?
I wear pants of being creative of my own, and then for Natuzzi, I'm a creative director. So really my inspiration, of course, being always active and staying curious, but I say that my brain is 60% creative and 40% organization and method, because, you know, creativity without real consistency and organization is a cloud that on the first ray of the sun goes away, right? Or blows away with the wind. As a creative director with the merchandising team, our inspiration are often very pragmatic and very non-creative, because we want to leave the freedom of being creative, adding the creative touch to again, the designer that we involve. So our briefs are moreover and often related to trends that we research, to functions that we miss, to product needs that we have. If we consider our collection a platform, a grid in which every taxonomy, we call it, so every kind of product has its own function, has its own advocacy, has its own commercial role. So what we transfer is really a more methodological, organized, structured idea of what we need. And so my inspirations are then often come after their initial ideas. So we usually sit down, and whenever they share with me their initial render or sketches, I'm like, well, what do you think about adding this? I usually add some spice to a dish that they already started to compone. And then I orchestrate their vision, their ideas with the company's needs. So my role is pretty delicate because I have to represent the best interest for the company, but I also have to somehow protect the designer so that they feel understood and respected, but the company ultimately gets the result, gets that respect too. Perhaps I'm more inclined to securing the ultimate resolution of issues or implementation of their inspiration rather than providing simple inspiration. But then I also do my own things, and so I have my own ways of finding inspiration, but that's another story. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a process you can force, and often I find, I mean, obviously my line of work as an editor is quite different, but it's like moments, unexpected moments that often, you know, inspire me to, you know, work on a story or on a project. And it's often when you actually least expect it that you find something, and it's not something that sometimes you can force in a certain way.
And then I think, I don't know if you share the feeling, but I feel that we live in a very creative world these days. Perhaps we have too many things to look at, to experience, to touch, to see, to picture. But there is a lot out there, right? I still haven't had time to go visit the fair, but imagine walking in these huge, enormous booths of fairs of many brands, small, medium, great established ones that are all making research and creativity. So inspirations, honestly, I find them very easy to come because there is a lot. It really depends about, I think that inspiration is a consequence of your own curiosity. So if you're curious, if you're a creator, if you want to create, then your sensors are there and you get the inspiration. But you have to stay active and curious, because if you're passive, I'm not sure inspiration will come to you. At least this is what happens to me.
And then it's difficult to stay curious, okay? Sometimes it's not easy. Some designers are just naturally curious. Some other ones, like me, I need to work on it, you know? Sometimes it's like, I don't know. It's you need to keep it like, you know, to keep it ongoing, otherwise...
And we should be also very selective, by the way. I mean, it's not just about to have an amount of things, but just to concentrate on things that really matters, no? That's also another thing for innovation, is that you have to be really, no? We have no time also to lose too much, no? Into things that doesn't change, no? But yeah.
And going back to your new collection and the pieces, how do you reinterpret a theme like heritage in a new way? How can you speak a little bit more about that, perhaps?
I don't know if I get the question.
So how do you add, let's say, a modern touch to a brand like Natuzzi that's with so much heritage and history? How do you bring something new while still respecting where the company has come from?
What I want to do always is try not to think what I have done, but try to find something that can provoke them in a way, no? Because in my opinion, the role of design is, yes, to do a product, but also is to move in some way a company with the products, no? So in some way, I never do something that I think they may like. Maybe no, it's just something different. They should be proud in some way, no? To ask to somebody that really want to say, okay, I want to push you, no? I want to push.
And also to have that freedom as a designer,
And that's why also we, for example, for myself, I choose to make a kind of an envelope of cushions which are structured in a way which is behave that was a little bit different. I have done something that, in my opinion, as in the construction also, it's completely different of what they were doing until now, no? With this kind of attitude, I think they understood that we can together move in that
if I may intervene here, and this is the kind of request that we make to designer, because the criteria that we put in play to protect the Natuzzi heritage or identity are pretty clear, you know. We have some parameters that define the identity, that can be comfort, can be visual comfort, can be the use of material, can be the role of functionality in the let's say interpretation of design, so that once, you know, the railways is somewhat defined, yes, I believe that what we also expect for them is to show us something that we haven't done before. Otherwise, there's no real innovation. We keep on repeating ourselves with things that look alike. So what I really want you, I hope, in the future, again, to do is, yes, to awaken in us, the awareness of new trends, new ideas. So yeah, definitely we want to, to be stretched a little bit. Let's say that let's put it like this: they are in some way our personal trainer, right? They have to take us on the treadmill and do a new kind of training that can help us stay fit somehow,
Yeah.
So they have to do the routine to help us to stay in good shape and tell us that maybe today is CrossFit, tomorrow is Pilates, what do I know, There's new techniques, new trends, new innovations, new evolutions that we should interpret, so...
And also it's a combination of risks, no? Because both, as a designer, risks to provoke or to do something that is not existing. And on the other side, the company is investing on something that at the end, until the thing is on the market and the people are appreciating it, there's a kind of, and this kind of magic of having behind a kind of risk thing, I think also is the power of trying to push the border always.
Yeah. I think it's so important to challenge each other, because I think in those moments you can really create something new or something memorable or worthwhile. And I think it's easy to fall into doing the same thing because that's the simple thing to do. I completely agree. And PJ, could you talk a little bit about the evolution and so looking at the Apulian heritage and how Natuzzi has evolved in recent years, and also how you see the DNA evolving?
I don't want to be auto-celebrative here, so I'll try to summarize it. The path that Natuzzi has been tracing is of really transforming from a sofa company into an interior decoration and interior design company, where, of course, the role of product design has been calling great creatives to help us stretch the DNA and evolve the DNA and feel inspired by their own perspective on creativity. Whereas the role of interior decoration for us has always been taking into account inspirations that come from this heritage of a Mediterranean environment, a Mediterranean history and heritage, to always recreate harmony. So this is continuously evolving thanks to the fact that the company is always active and dynamic and making a lot of research, and is also very critical toward itself. We're always continuously feeling that we really have to do better, whether it's material research, whether it's product quality. So we never sit still, we're very ambitious. And then, designer are that external factor that also seeds innovation, seeds awareness on new trends and techniques or ideas. The sofas that they made this year are both very innovative in terms of looking at the Natuzzi, let's say, collection over the last years. They have that extra new element. So we're moving in this direction, and the pillars are harmony, Puglia and Mediterranean lifestyle, the idea of decorating homes with this sense of, harmony in the use of materials and shapes and colors. And this is growing more and more also to please more sophisticated consumers and more sophisticated audiences that we work with. And the role of interior designers and decorators and architects for us is becoming crucial. So to convince the audience of professionals, you really have to step up, the level of your game. And this is why we are training a lot, making this parallelism with training for it to be successful.
Before, I really want to leave enough time for the audience also to be able to ask questions, but to slowly wrap things up, could you tell me about an object, a designer, a creative, or an individual who has influenced your work over the years? Could be anything. It could be a musician.
I say? You say? When I decide to be a designer, I didn't have any idea of what was being a designer, no? And I passed, after my degree, a lot of years in a studio to learn what it was. My lucky was that I found a lot of people from which I learned a lot, but not something technical, but something that is much more humanistic about the design process in terms of making an effort of doing something which is not scontato, I will say it's scontato, granted, yes. And try always to engage the other people with something which is not expected. And this vision for myself was the years that I spent at Urquiola Studio, and also the colleagues I have the lucky to. For example, there's one here, probably, Christophe de la Fontaine, that is a friend now, but from him I learned a lot. Not just about design, but also about life. That this is something that sometimes it's what it matters, no, at the end.
Okay, thank you.
It's more or less
Reggae.
same story.
Actually, going back to the reggae.
Sorry.
I just remembered I said probably going back to the reggae. That was
Reggae music.
Yes.
Yeah. Reggae music is for the vibe.
Yeah.
Oasis. Do you know Oasis?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you like Oasis?
So.
Blur. You're for Blur, not for Oasis. Doesn't like Oasis. Anyway, Oasis is also like part of the Oasis.
Yeah.
One, like two different stories and two different inspirations.
Yeah.
And apart from jokes, I believe that for me as well, it's about talking to my closest friends and to get to learn from everyday friendships and and luckily I have very good friends around me. So this is the main inspiration.
Yeah. Thank you.
Same thing here, my curiosity is embedded in me. My culture connects my past, my present, and my vision on who I want to be in my future. But, my ideas, my knowledge, my information are really given by all of the connections that I make, and I'm like them, I'm very fortunate because I have great mentors, great friends in the industry, and artists and creatives and people that inspire me. So I listen carefully, I'm an observer, I'm a listener, and by observing and listening I try to grasp the most information as possible. So there's nothing really specifically that changed my life, but a lot of people that taught me a lot, and they still do that.
Yeah. My last question is if you have a dream project that you'd love to work on.
Dream project to me is I shouldn't say it.
Go on. We're all friends.
I think Natuzzi is really ready now to grow into, let's say, a more organized and complex concept of hospitality. Let's put it like that. So let's see.
Can you give us a teaser of what you had in mind? Or should we just come back next year and then...
Next year. Let's talk about it
next year. Okay.
For me, we go back in the beginning of this conversation is something that lasts. This is the idea now should be always modern, no? Which could be 1, 2, 3, or at least one thing that will last. I don't want to say forever, but sign in a way our discipline. It's the dream.
And for me, it's an installation with unlimited budget.
Okay. Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking our panel.